I begged for the last 2 months on TV for the rhetoric to stop. I said in March, if the rhetoric didn't stop, there's going to be bloodshed. And there has been. I wish I wasn't right. I don't want to see anybody die. Not officers, not members of the community, and not the targets of our operations. For the people out there who don't like what ICE is doing, if you want certain laws reformed, then take it up with Congress. Again, ICE is making this. Laws have been on the book. Presidents I worked for. I started with President Reagan and ending with President Trump. Every administration, we enforce the same laws. If you don't like what ICE is doing, instead of protesting this building, go protest Congress. Tell me we want changes. You have your First Amendment rights. I support that. You have the right to protest. I'm just asking you to keep it peaceful. But threatening law enforcement officers, engaging in impeding and obstruction and assault is never okay. And there will be zero tolerance. You interfere, impede, assault an ICE officers, you will be arrested. Like I said a bit earlier in my meetings with Governor Walton Ellison and Frey, as well as state and local law enforcement, I appreciate they acknowledge this, that public safety should be paramount. The chiefs I've talked to committed to responding to 911 calls when protesters turn violent, agents are in a dangerous situation, and there's assaults. They have committed to upholding public safety and responding to the needs, not to enforce immigration law, but to keep the peace. With that, I call upon those officials to stand shoulder to shoulder with us to tone down the dangerous rhetoric and condemn all unlawful action against law enforcement in the community. There are many ways to voice your voice can be heard, express your feelings, and affect change in the country without crossing that line. Political and other disagreements in this realm should not be at the expense of public safety or the safety of our federal law enforcement officers. In closing, I want to thank the state and local officials here in Minnesota that I met with and the many I'm going to meet with. We've had meaningful dialogue. And look, again, we didn't agree on everything, but we agreed on the things I just talked about. There's much more we can do. And I'm going to continue those dialogues. I got many more community leaders to talk to. I got many more sheriffs to meet. President Trump wants this fixed. And I'm going to fix it. With your help. I want to thank President Trump for his unwavering commitment to public safety and prosperity of every American. Under the President's leadership, we have the most secure border in the history of this nation, which means less women are being raped, less children are dying crossing that border, less fentanyl is getting in this country to kill Americans, less known suspected terrorists are crossing that country, and we don't have 2 million unknown gotaways. We don't know who the hell they are. A secure border means we have stronger national security. A secure border saves lives. When 96% less people come in, how many women aren't being sucked to have been members of the cartel? How many people aren't dying making that journey? How many Americans aren't dying of fentanyl overdoses? How many women and children aren't being sex trafficked in this nation? The data proves it. Anybody can find that data. So God bless this great nation. God bless Minnesota. We can do better. And I think your local and state leaders meeting with me, we made some significant gains, significant coordination and cooperation, and you're going to see some massive changes occurring here in this city. Thank you.
Can you clarify what the rules of engagement are?
Hold on, right here. Thank you so much, Mr. Homan, Giovanna Delorto with the Associated Press. Based on how you have described these changes in the mission, more specific about the objectives of Operation Metro Surge, if what you have described changes the parameters for interior enforcement only in Minnesota or also in Maine and other places? And finally, when will you consider that those objectives will be achieved and this operation will end? Is it in terms of agents on the ground, in terms of who you are targeting for arrests?
The withdrawal of law enforcement resources here is dependent upon cooperation. Like I said, one agent arresting one bad guy in jail means less agents on the street. We have some agreements. We got more to talk about how we're going to implement these agreements. But as we see that cooperation happen, then the redeployment will happen. Look, target enforcement operations should happen across the nation. That's what we've done for decades. And with target enforcement operations, I've done many of them. It just makes it safer for everybody. When we know exactly what we're looking for, what is his criminal history, what is his immigration history, where does he live, is he in an apartment complex versus a house, has he got a known record for having weapons, it's safer for everybody. Then we know what type of resources we need to go. And, it just makes this operation cleaner, more efficient, and it's proven less violence when we know exactly what we're getting into and we can take the necessary precautions to keep everybody safe. Some of the operations that I've been involved in, we know there's children in the house based on surveillance. So we know you got to be a little bit different when you go into the house because there's going to be children present. So target enforcement operations, the way we've always done it, I think we got away from a little bit. And we're going to make sure we do target enforcement operations. And look, and I will say it again, we are not surrendering our mission at all. We're just doing it smarter.
Shimon Prokopez from CNN. Mr. Homan, how did we get here in terms of you had Greg Bavino, who was the face of this immigration operation, the mission, as you say, to having border patrol agents in the interior of this country, stopping U.S. citizens, asking them for ID, creating this fear in places like Chicago and now here. And then finally, it took really the death of Alex Petty for us to get here. How did that happen? Who made the decisions to allow this kind of operation to proceed in this way and to create such fear?
Well, look, the Border Patrol, last 4 years under Joe Biden, we had an open border where 12,000 people a day are coming across the border. Border Patrol got overwhelmed, which means we sent thousands of ICE agents down there to help deal with that humanitarian crisis, help secure the border. Now we have millions of people released in this nation, many unvetted. Now we got to find them. Before the big, beautiful bill, we had a total just under 5,000 deportation officers to look for millions of people, many in public safety threats. So yes, we needed Border Patrol to come and help on our mission now. And the reason for the massive deployment is because of the threats, because of the violence. Our officers need to be protected. If I'm on an operation, an arrest team, I'm going to a house, I got to be busy with that guy, the dangerous guy, and I can't keep looking over my shoulder at what's happening outside the house. So we brought extra resources in to provide that security. And as I said, as we drill down on these great agreements we got and this great understanding we have means less. So we can draw down those resources. When the violence decreases, we can draw down those resources. But based on the discussions I've had with the governor and the AG, we can start drawing down those resources as far as those looking for public safety threats being released and do it in the jail with much less people. So the drawdown is going to happen based on these agreements. But the drawdown can happen even more if the hateful rhetoric and the impediment and interference will stop. So Border Patrol, I was a Border Patrol agent. These men and women are patriots. God bless them. They're here to help us. And the drawdown will come soon depending on when this actually, I see this in play. But the agreements to have alone is going to cause a significant drawdown. So you're going to see a drawdown.
Ben, go ahead.
Just on a personal,
Go ahead, Ben.
you've been doing this
Ben,
for
go
40
ahead.
years. Just
Tom
a
Homan.
follow-up.
Ben, go ahead. No.
First off, Ben Burpo, I'm Real America's Voice News. On behalf of the American people, I just want to say thank you to you and to all of the agents that are putting their lives on the line to go after the people that were allowed in the last administration. We watched that happen in the media, the honest media, covered up by many of the media that are behind me. We want to say thank you, and to all the men and women that are out there. Can you talk to us about what's being done with the leadership on these signal chats, on these WhatsApp chats that are organizing the attacks against you, the obstruction against you? Are we going to be arresting those individuals as well? And to the folks out there in America that voted for this, that want mass deportations because they saw a mass invasion under Joe Biden, what would you say to them? How are we going to get to that point?
Well, first of all, about the organization and the funding of the attacks on ICE. I'm not going to answer a lot about that because I'm not going to show our hand, but they'll be held accountable. Justice is coming. Again, we got to all remember why the questions from CNN, why are we here? What started this? 4 years of an open border where millions of people are letting this country unvetted. Remember, let's not forget, for 4 years we were told the border's secure. 4 years we were told the border's secure. And we all knew it wasn't. And I want this to be a positive thing we're doing here today. I also want to remember the politicians are continually attacking us. Where were they the last 4 years when the number of women and children sex trafficking went all-time high? Where were they when 250,000 Americans died from fentanyl coming across the border? Where were they when women and children are dying making that journey? Where were they where over 4,000 families making that journey died? Historic record. Where were they? Not a word.